In this video, I'm going to be covering the truth about spot reduction when it comes to fat loss and breaking one of the biggest myths that we still seem to believe in this day and age, that by training a certain body part, using a certain exercise is going to help lose body fat in that area. And that is not how things work, okay? This is very, very common, especially with guys that train their abs all day, do 100 sit-ups before they go to bed, do loads of crunches, and they think that this is going to get them a six-pack. They think this is going to lose the beer gut that's been there for such a long time now, and they think that by doing a bunch of crunches that this is actually going to help to improve the area. And guys, this is just not the case whatsoever at all. So I want to dive in today how to actually get abs and how we can go and get there without having to do loads of crunches, and why doing loads of crunches is just absolute BS as well. It's such a waste of time and it's just not good. You're a busy guy that has got limited amount of time to spend in the gym. If you're spending time doing loads of crunches, you're not getting the most bang for your buck. You're not training effectively. And now the way I like to describe this to people is this. If you were to go and drain a swimming pool, massive Olympic pool, you thought, well, I'm going to drain all the water out. Okay, you got your deep end, you've got your shallow end. If you started to drain that pool, what would happen? Now, the water in the shallow end is going to obviously drain first, right? Deep end's going to go last. This is exactly what it's like when it comes to losing body fat. We all have stubborn areas. We have areas that we lose first, and we have areas that we lose last. This often does come down to your sex. I think male and female characteristics typically tend to kind of depend on where we're carrying the stubborn areas. Guys often carry a lot of body fat around the love handles, hips, and obviously around the belly as well. So obviously the stubborn kind of belly fat. And then women, it tends to be a lot of the time around their lower half of their body. Okay, so it's like glutes. Sometimes it's quite stubborn on the quads, quite bigger legs. This again is just tend to be down to genetics. But you will start to see that the more that obviously you are in a calorie deficit, the longer that you stay consistent, you will start to lose those stubborn areas as well. If you continue to keep draining a swimming pool, what happens at the end, you're going to lose the water and the deep end as well. The deep end is the love handles, is your belly fat, is your bingo win, is the areas that you can't seem to tone, right? So what do we try and do instead? We think there's a shortcut by training that muscle, doing loads of volume and reps on that exercise, which just doesn't work. Okay, we can do all the abs, all the crunches, all the hanging leg raises. You can do all the 10-minute ab workouts you want to do, but it is not going to lose a stubborn belly fat until you actually make sure you are in a calorie deficit, which is going to be mostly down to your nutrition and making sure that you're getting enough steps in. This is why it's just not a good use of time to be doing loads of ab training when it is just not going to be effective. All that training your abs repetitively does, especially if you're doing loads of sit-ups and stuff like that, which is what most guys do, is it's just going to put a ton of stress on your lower back, especially if you're not doing proper resistance training around it as well. Like if you're not actually building like strength in your core, remember guys, your core is your lower back as well, right? It's not just your abs and in your legs. If you're not building strength in those areas and you're just smashing a ton of sit-ups every single day, that's going to put so much pressure on your lower back, which is actually probably going to do more harm than good. So you're not actually doing any benefit really for training your abs all the time, and it's just a complete waste of time. So what is it that we actually need to do? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Like I said, the first thing that you want to be focusing on is being in a calorie deficit. You've probably heard this term so many times now, but it is the absolute be all and end all when it comes to fat loss. If you're not in a calorie deficit, you're not going to lose body fat. You're not in a calorie deficit, you can do all the crunches you want, you're not going to see a difference. So we have to make sure we address this first. A very, very simple way of making sure you're in a calorie deficit. I'm going to leave my calculator, free FitLab calculator. You can hit one of the links below and it will take you straight to the page. You can obviously work out your calories on there. If you want a very, very kind of back and napkin approach, you can literally just take your body weight right now and times it by in pounds and times it by the 10 or 12. And that is going to tell you roughly how many calories you need to consume to be in a calorie deficit. Okay, 9 times out of 10, this works really, really well. Unless you have a really, really active job or you're a little bit more trained, you know, you've maybe got a bit more muscle, it might be worth doing a bit of a different calculation. But if you just want a really quick number to work towards, it's going to put you in a calorie deficit. That is really the way that we want to do it. And that means the amount of calories that you need to consume from your nutrition should be around that point. That's straight away going to put you in a deficit, which means that you're then going to start losing body fat, because to make up the deficit, our body is then going to have to start putting either fat or muscle, which brings me on to my next point in a second, to make up that energy deficit. And that's basically what a calorie deficit is. Okay, then we move on to step number 2, which is protein intake. Protein intake is super important because, like I just said, we either are going to start to put on to fat or we're going to start to put on to muscle, and then we're going to use that to make up the energy deficit. If you're not consuming enough protein, your body potentially is then going to start to use muscle as the kind of way of making up the calorie deficit, so you don't look any better, you actually become more skinny fat, and again, you're not going to lose the stubborn areas. You might lose a bit of stomach fat, but you're still not going to look shredded, you're not going to look great, you're just going to become a little bit skinny fat over time. So the protein intake is super important. Now you want to make sure you eat around 1 gram of protein per pound of your body weight. Now that's a really, really easy way of working things out. If you're a 180-pound guy, roughly try and eat around 180 grams of protein per day. If you're very overweight or you are a little bit heavier and you think that actually seems like quite a lot, like a 220-pound guy, that might seem like 220 grams of protein might seem like quite a lot. So what I would then do is maybe try and eat your target body weight, right? So if you want to be around 200 or 190 pound, eat around that. That's still more than a sufficient enough amount of protein, still get enough from your protein intake to be able to get the benefits of eating enough protein. So they're the two most important things: calorie deficit, protein intake. That's really how your nutrition strategy should look. And if you can do that, that's going to put you ahead of most people. Obviously, then the food intake is important. You should be eating quality food. I'm not going to go into that topic today. That's too much of a topic to talk about. Generally, just make sure you're eating pretty much unprocessed whole foods for 90% of the time. Cannot really go wrong when it comes to that. And then we move on to the resistance training. So when I say resistance training, that is not training your abs. You don't need to be really doing that much abs. It's just not necessary. I'm going to get onto that in a second. But what you should be prioritizing is resistance training in terms of lifting multi-joint muscle movements, compound movements. Okay, the type of exercises that you do that are hitting multiple muscle groups. So like squats, deadlifts, rows, pull-ups, all these kinds of things, bench presses, all these kind of things. And I don't mean the exact exercise from those. I mean, choose a variation of one of those. Like I don't like flat bench press. I got a really bad injury once. I tore my pec. So I do an incline bench press. It's my go-to exercise when it comes to training my chest. Incline dumbbell bench press, brilliant exercise, okay? I don't really like back squatting anymore. I just find that the recovery from back squatting is delayed for me. I do like a proper aggressive day of back squatting and can't do anything for quite a long time. And I like to do all my running and stuff. So I don't back squat anymore. I use Bulgarian split squats, or I use hack squat, right? So it's like a variation of an exercise or a movement that I know that I should be doing. I don't do a proper deadlift anymore. Again, it's just too demanding on lower back. I don't think my form's brilliant, and I'm a bit of an ego lifter sometimes. So what I like to do is a Romanian deadlift because I find I can get really good form in that. So you don't have to do, you can pick and choose a variation that works for you, but you should be making sure that you're doing resistance training using compound movements like what I've just mentioned, because what's that going to do? It's actually going to help you build shape. It's going to help you build and maintain muscle mass so that when you do what I just said a second ago, calorie deficit, eat enough protein, your body is only ever going to look to use stored fat to make up the energy deficit. And once it uses stored fat, guess what? That's how you get shredded. That's how you look better. That's how you lose body fat. So you start to see a difference in how you look in your physique. So it's so important that you're doing those things rather than spending loads of time neglecting the basics, like I've just said, not having a clue how many calories you're consuming or being consistent with it, not having a clue how much protein you're consuming, right? And then just not really doing that much resistance training, but just thinking that training your abs is the right thing to do. Or resistance training, but training in a poor way, just ineffective training, having no plan, and then just doing a bit of abs at the end of your session, thinking that, again, that's the right strategy. It doesn't work. It's slow process. You're not going to see a difference. You're just going to be stuck for years, like a lot of guys are, not seeing any real difference in how you look. If you've got those things right, and you are a little bit leaner, and you're starting to see a difference, and maybe you're kind of floating around that 15% mark, and you're kind of on the right path, then yes, you can start bringing in some basic ab movements. Nothing too crazy. Like you could literally do like 2 lots of 10 minutes per week of training your abs using weight is more than enough to start really building up those muscles. They are a muscle at the end of the day, so it is worth training them to a certain extent once you get your body fat to the position that I believe that it should be. Okay, once you start seeing a bit of a difference and you start feeling that little bit leaner, and of course you're prioritizing all the other things, there's no harm in doing a bit of ab training to really bring them out as much as possible. You don't have to, but if you want to build a thicker core and actually see your abs even at a higher body fat, it is worth strengthening them. So I do a lot of hanging leg raises. I do a lot of weighted crunches. They're like my go-to exercises for my core, just ones that I can actually add weight to and I can be progressive with. Hanging leg raises are hard, so it means I can only get like maybe 10 to 12 out, so I can start to be progressive with those. But it's those movements, the ones that are challenging on your core, they're the ones that we should be spending more time doing, not the hundreds and thousands of crunches and 10-minute ab workouts and ab toner belts. Like these things do not work. You're wasting your time doing these things. So guys, that's pretty much my take when it comes to spot reduction, when it comes to losing body fat, and when it comes to achieving six-pack abs. I've had six-pack abs now for probably about 10 to 12 years. I've never really not had them, to be honest, but also I've coached hundreds and hundreds of guys on how to get there as well. And trust me, I speak from a lot of experience when it comes to that protocol there that I've just explained is really how things need to work for you to go and get that six-pack. Everybody has a six-pack, whether you believe it or not, whether you don't, you have a six-pack underneath. It's just at the moment probably covered with layers of fat, which you need to get rid of for being in a calorie deficit. Once you've done that and you remain consistent for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you will have a six-pack that you probably always wanted, and it will be an incredible feeling once you're there. So as always, guys, I hope you find this video useful. Make sure you smash the like button, you should hit subscribe, and I'm going to catch you in the next video.